Will that like also kind of expose like the pause below the knee? Kind of expose people that hitch because it's like another pause. I feel like, and then like bounce.
I mean, maybe that's kind of a different conversation. Like people with a hitch, in my opinion, should really like this. People with a hitch could probably like just snatch more and feel better. Like I'm not a huge fan of and when we talk about hitch, I'm talking about like an aggressive hitch. Something that helps out with people with a hitch would be doing like no contact snatches, because a lot of times people with the hitch, they're like overcomplicating and overthinking what the contact should look like, so it's like this like super labored thing. So this isn't necessarily going to help with the hitch at all. But that could be something, and that's something important to keep in mind also, where like let's say this is the group right here. Let's say we have 4 people. I guess we can count Jason. We have 5 people in the class. And let's say like hey, it's you know, June 10th, which means that we're doing, you know, power snatch triples with a 3-second pause below the knee, and I see that Jason is hitching. Like, hey, fuck what we're doing. This is what I need you to do. I need you to do some no contact snatches. So do the same thing. Like, you're still gonna build to a triple. Like, it doesn't need to be a completely different workout. But if I see something that now make sure it's something that is identifiable. You know what I mean? Like, if they're just bad at snatching, like let's play. Like let's do what we're doing and let's let them play with the group, right? But if there's something identifiable like a hitch, and now we are kind of on the same page about, you know, what can fix a hitch, let's go fix that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anything else with snatching? So the conditioning now for our for Mondays is going to be, we're calling it like chest to bar endurance work, and over the last like 6 weeks we did some handstand push up. You know, remember a couple weeks ago we did the handstand push up thruster burpee that like ruined everyone's life except Kate, apparently.
Yeah, Kate's not. It wasn't hard enough for her.
And then we evolved that, and that was muscular endurance with specific to like the handstand push-up and core to extremity extension, which we talked about last time that we spoke, right? Everything was core to extremity, whether it was the thruster or it was a kipping handstand push-up, was core to extremity, upper pressing, whatever you want to call it. There's a bunch of different classification categories. Then we evolved that into bike erg and wall ball and skiing and bike erg and wall ball and jumping, right? Because we had the burpees. And then we also had the skiing, the toe to bar, and the burpee box jump over. So it's like a lot of hip flexion on the toe to bar. So it's a lot of like playing around with different movements in gymnastics. So what we're gonna do moving forward now is this is gonna actually be an 8-week push for the chest to bar. Now as far as this is gonna go, the chest to bar, because it's a little bit higher skill of a movement, it's a little bit higher of an entry level movement, especially when you start talking about like a butterfly pull up. I'm not a huge fan of fatiguing people prior to the movement with the same muscles, right? Like a toe to bar, like some people don't have toes to bar, but once you have it, you kind of have it, and then we can just kind of build density and build volume within the movement. There's not a huge skill component. There is for some, but once you get it to a certain level, you have it, right? Like hey, keep your feet together, keep your legs straight, look forward, make contact with the bar. When we start talking about chest to bar or pull-ups, because the chest to bar is actually the RX Plus option, I should specify that. RX is going to be pull-ups, RX Plus is going to be chest to bar. But so when we start talking about the pull-ups and the butterfly, like there's so many nuances, and we're trying to get people butterfly pull-ups, and we're trying to get people to advance. So I'm not a huge fan of like localized fatigue and then moving into high skill stuff, which is why you'll also never see that with like a bar muscle up or like a ring muscle up in classes. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So as far as the chest to bar stuff goes, and it's actually, I'm super excited about this. It's gonna be pretty cool. So over the 8 weeks, we're going to be accumulating 60 to 80 reps per session in the pull-up or in the chest to bar or in the band pull-up, like whatever the person needs to scale to, right? Now, as far as the progression goes, we're basically going to have three progression categories. Actually 6 progression categories. So here's what it's going to look like. Week number 1 is going to be chest to bar with a monostructural movement with an easy contractile movement. So what's an easy contractile movement? Well, it's probably something light, right? Like what would be a hard contractile movement? Snatching 185, right? Like that's tough, right? There's a high neuromuscular demand. There's a high efficiency demand, there's a high contraction demand because it's heavy, but what about a wall ball, right? That's not very complex. I mean, let alone it's not heavy. There's not like a contraction unless you're like, you know, Roberto's height and you have to like throw to hit the target, but there's not like an aggressive contraction. You guys are following me, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, there's also a cyclical nature in it because you actually literally have to rest as the ball comes back down. So that's like super, super easy. And we can have conversations about like, hey, it blows my back up. Okay, well that's separate conversations. But when we're talking about cycling rates of movements, that's as almost as simple as it gets.
Yeah.
Like that and like a kettlebell swing would be similar to that, right? Yeah. So what we're doing is we're gonna pair the movement at hand, which is the chest to bar, with a really easy movement. And spoiler alert, week 1 is a wall ball, but we're gonna keep it low rep count. So week 1 is gonna, I guess not spoiler alert, I wrote it right here.
Yeah.
Week 1 is with a wall ball, and it's gonna be set to 20. All right, now watch what we do here. The next week is going to be a little bit harder, and that little bit harder is going to be shoulder to overhead at 135 and 95. So you guys can now see, right, and I'll tell you guys right now the 3 different contraction types that we have, right? We have a wall ball, think about what that feels like. Then we have shoulder to overhead at 135, 95. Okay, let me think about what that feels like. Then we have clean and jerks at 135, 95. So you guys can see how the demand on the contraction got more advanced from week 1 to week 3, right? Now, back to week 2, We've got shoulder overhead at 135, 95, so that's a more aggressive of a contraction type than a wall ball, which we already discussed. And we're going to do that for 8s, which is fairly lightweight. And that's not to say that you're only doing 8 per round. I won't. So again, just to kind of finish this thought process, again, we have a harder contraction, that's the shoulder overhead, same weight, same movement, but now we're going to do 16s instead of 8s. And then even harder contraction, which remembers the clean and jerks, and we're going to do 10s instead of 5s. So you guys can, again, you know, we just talked about what the muscle contraction demands look like as far as the movements go. Like if I were to do 100 wall balls or 100 shoulder overhead or 100 clean and jerks at those weights, like that's a very different like allocation as far as energy sources go. On top of that, if I were to do, like we start getting into, you know, we've had conversations with a lot of people about like, oh, I really like the low rep count, high round stuff. Yeah, me too. That's really fair.
Yeah.
But obviously there's other aspects to fitness, right? So that it'd be very different if I asked you to do, you know, 5 clean and jerks and then 15 chest to bar and then 5 clean and jerks rather than 10 clean and jerks, 15 chest to bar, 10 clean and jerks. So now as we're getting them more and more exposed to being able to handle more aggressive contraction types, we then go back to an easy contraction, and now we're asking them to be able to handle more volume and still be able to do a fairly high skill movement. You know, for anybody that's like keeping track, like you said 8 weeks and this is only 6, that would be factual. The final 2 weeks are going to be kind of like a combo tester type thing where we're going to have a lot of stuff going on and like wall balls, chest to bar, rest, shoulder overhead, really high rep count, but very tester-y, where there's going to be a lot of force breaking. So that's why there's only 6 here. Any questions about that? That's going to be super cool. I've never done anything like this before, so I'm pretty excited about that. That's going to be fun. Does somebody want to say something? Okay. Tuesdays, which have started to become everybody's like least favorite day as far as like the map stuff that we've been doing. So we've been doing map 7. So map 7 has been the 10 minutes on, 5 minutes off for 3 rounds. We're going to progress now into map 6, and it's going to be 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off for 4 rounds. I gave one example of what the progression is going to look like. So when we talk about map work and when we talk about adaptations in general, there's 2 different types of adaptations, generally speaking. There's what's called a software adaptation. I think that we might have talked a little bit about this before. There's what's called a software adaptation, and there's what's called a hardware adaptation. So a hardware adaptation would be anatomically or physiologically your body is adapting to the stressor and you got more fit. Well, actually you got deconditioned first and less fit, but then overcompensation happens and then you become more fit. A software adaptation is you learned something. Like your brain adapted to something, like you figured out a pace, or you like finally learned what to do, or figured out how to do it. You know, just to give some you know examples, like Trey would be a good example of somebody who needs probably a lot of software adaptations, right? And I think that his software adaptations will lead to hardware adaptations, and he's been much better about it. And I pick on him specifically, obviously, because of his pacing habits, right? Like his fitness isn't what's not allowing him to continue to work out in AMRAPs. It's his, I mean, I guess first not understanding what the workout is.
Yeah, that's part of it.
but it's his like not understanding of what the task is at hand, and he's getting much better about it. But that's just an example of like a software versus hardware. Whereas like a hardware adaptation would be like, just to go opposite end of the spectrum, would be like somebody who's smoked cigarettes for 5 years and literally is starting to do fitness right now and literally can't run a mile unbroken. Like, they're going to start to run, and very quickly they're going to feel hardware adaptations because they're so unfit that fitness is going to come fairly quickly. So when we talk about MAP stuff, MAP is very, very big with not just hardware adaptations but software adaptations as well. And if you guys recall, we said with the 10-minute AMRAP thing, how to. Everybody was going too fast, right? Myself included. Like, nobody was going slow enough.
Yep.
And it's so hard because we can coach everybody like at the whiteboard before the class starts, and we can like hype it up and be like, this is so dope. It's gonna be so like physiologically rewarding. Oh my God, it's gonna be so cool. And then at 3, 2, 1, go, and everybody wants to beat whoever they're biking next to. So if you recall when we were doing the 3 10-minute AMRAPs, we said, okay, multiply the work multiply the minutes by the sets, so we have 30 minutes of total work. Yeah. Now take 2/3 of that, and that's how you should be exercising. Yeah. 3, 2, 1, go. You should be exercising like it's a 20-minute AMRAP. So same thing here. We've got 20 minutes of total work. You should be exercising like it's like a 14-ish minute AMRAP each time, right? Now, almost a trick question, right? Like, we literally cut the work time in half. So what should be happening to the intensity? It goes up. It goes up, right? And the workouts are going to be designed that way so that the contractions can happen faster, and so that people can dig themselves into at least a little bit more of a hole. But that's the whole point with MAP, is that theoretically, if somebody was to start at like MAP 10, which is like 60 minutes to 90 minutes of exercising, that's super, super low intensity, and then they learn how to be sustainable at that incredibly low intensity, and then they get progressed, right? And then they're gonna fuck up a bunch because now it's a new intensity, and now it's like, I had more in the tank, which is rarely ever the case, right? I had more in the tank, or I came out way too hot. Okay, well now we're talking about software adaptations that like, all right, yeah, it's a new time frame. It's tricky. We just got hammered with 10-minute AMRAPs for 6 weeks, and now we're cutting it in half. I would actually like to see people, maybe week 1 be like, man, I could have gone harder. Like, yes, you're getting it. You're understanding, and you pulled the reins back. That would be sweet. So on top of all of that, the way that we're going to be progressing, and the cool thing about MAP stuff also is that exposure and fitness in general, but specifically MAP stuff and aerobic work, exposure is good, right? Like, so, we get really worked up about progressions, which we need because we need to be able to, highlight where we're at and where we're going and progress in an organized fashion. But something like aerobic work, if you do aerobic work, you're going to become more aerobically inclined. We're trying to take it to the next level by progressing it in organized fashions. And just to give one more example of why this is important, and this will be cool because this can be relayed to everybody, obviously, because I feel like people are understanding how cool this MAP stuff is, right? So level with me for a second. Let's say Mick wanted to get a big bench press. Not that he cares about that, but I think we were all 18 at one point and we wanted as big a bench press as possible, right? And we got bench press a bunch. So Mick wants a big bench press. He has 2 options. Option 1, program 1, would be Mick goes in and he builds to a 1 rep max 3 days a week, which we've all probably been that stupid before. You know what I mean? Like just max out. Hey, if I could just, today I'm gonna hit 300. Then on Wednesday, if I just hit 305, it's only 5 pounds. And then the next day, if I just hit 310, it's only 5 pounds, right? And we could spend hours on the flaws with that thought process. But his exposure to a stimulus is very, very, very low in volume. High intensity, but very, very low in volume. we could all agree that'd be dumb, right? So the other option would be testing mixed 1 rep max and then doing percentage work. So, okay, well, in nature, what is percentage work? It's lower intensity so that we get more exposure to a movement, or in today, a energy system expectation. So now Mick's gonna do 4x9 at 75%, and then 5x5 at 80%, and then 10x3 at 85%, and we're gonna progress like that. So now instead of Mick having, literally 5 reps north of 75% or 70%, which is what we would consider a working set, 5 reps north of 70% per day, 15 total reps per week because he's benching 3 times a week, or in this percentage way, he's going to get like 50, 60, 70 reps above 70%. What's better, right? What's going to lead to more strength and more exposure to a movement pattern? It's the latter, right? That's this. And if we obsess too much with AMRAPs, and this was always CrossFit's downfall, was like 8-minute AMRAP. That's not enough time. It's not enough time. That'd be the equivalent of doing a 1 rep max bench press, but a 1 rep max of an 8-minute AMRAP. Like, yeah, you fell on the floor and you exposed 8 minutes, but you were only there for 8 minutes. Yeah. Now we're getting a lot more exposure in a 5-minute time frame. So this is the equivalent of a 5x5 in a bench press. And if we were to just do a 10-minute AMRAP instead of this 5x5, instead of this, we'll call this 4x5, that would be the equivalent of just maxing out every day. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So on top of all that, as far as the progressions go, we're going to increase in movement contraction demands. Similar conversation that we had over here, right? So I forget if it's week 1 or week 2, and we're not going to dive too deep into this, but I just wanted to give an example. The first week or 2, along with the monostructural movement, there's deadlifts at 135 and 95 and push-ups. And then by the last week of this, we're doing sandbag over shoulder and burpees. So it's almost like we're forcing people to not be able to go extremely crazy here, but then the expectation is that they learn how to go through more aggressive muscle contractions as they progress through this cycle. So now they're able to pace out more aggressive muscle contractions. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Moving along, everybody good?
I assume the goal for those is again to either repeat or
always. Yeah. So aerobic work is always, the goal is always consistency. Yeah. Yes, and I hate to be so kind of along those lines, I hate to be like that guy, because obviously heart rate monitors have been around forever. But I just recently started wearing a heart rate monitor when I work out, and it's been very enlightening for me to be able to see, I'll be doing something and I'll get this feeling coming over me where I'm just about redlined, and I can look down and be like, all right, so I need to stay away from that, right? That's not the number I need to ever see again in this workout, right? Yeah. So I would, what were you gonna say?
Because people are always asking, oh, how do I know if I'm going too fast?
Yeah. Well, that's a RPE thing. I mean, by the end of the workout.
Yeah.
If you're able to sustain it or not. You know what I mean?
By the first round, the first set.
Well, and that's just gonna be the software adaptation aspect of it too. You know what I mean? But and I'm not suggesting that wearing a heart rate monitor is gonna end the pacing issue, because the pacing question is gonna be a question that's asked to the end of fitness. But it has been cool for me to see and be like, I know for a fact that if I'm in this range, I'm good. I know for a fact. So now if I'm trying to figure out what the most aggressive pace that I can keep but still stay sustainable, I actually now have a number that I'm shooting for. You know what I mean? And mind you, different people can react differently to different contractions. Maybe Kate, when she does deadlifts, her blood pressure shoots up, and which, I mean, we all do, but her blood pressure shoots up and then her heart rate shoots up. So that's a deadlift specific issue, but this is just generally. So, yeah. Cool?
Cool.
Yeah, because by definition, aerobic is sustainable, right? And we're flirting with again, by definition, none of this is aerobic. That's why this is kind of a new age. This is a new age concept of mixed modality being aerobic. because aerobic is supposed to be forever ongoing, and aerobic is supposed to be clearly like cleanly oxidative, which nothing's cleanly oxidative when you have deadlifts or push-ups. Like there's glycogen pathways that are being utilized. There's different pathways that are being utilized. So it's not truly aerobic, but by definition, aerobic is sustainable. So that's what we want. Moving along to power cleans. So similar concept to what we talked about with the snatch technical work. A little bit different. So we're focusing on hip extension, on extension, on a big finish type of thing. We have a couple things that we can look at now, a couple cues that we can use. We don't want to see people jumping backwards. I am a big time jump backer. Jump backer. Jump backite. Yeah, I jump back quite a bit, so that's something I need to work on. But the two aren't mutually exclusive, so we can work on hip extension in general, and now we're hammering hip extension twice, so hopefully we're going to see twice the exposure on both of these movements. We're going to be doing unbroken power complexes. So the way this specific thing's going to work, we're going to go from unbroken power complexes, and let's say, for example, and I forget if it starts off with a 3-movement complex or a 4-movement complex, but let's say it's a 4-movement complex. Power clean, hang power clean, below the knee power clean, right? Four power movements. The power movements are going to turn into squat movements, because I'm not a huge fan of overly obsessing about the power clean, because you start to get like that starfish stuff happening. The elbows get really, really slow. Some really bad habits can be created if you power clean too much and you don't squat clean enough. And then you'll have people that like that. I mean, a lot of people do power clean more than they squat clean. Some of it's because of their leg strength, but some of it's because they are getting away with a lot when they power clean. But so then we have these four power movements. So then, similar to what we're doing over here, we're going to start to slowly change the power movements into squat movements. So now instead of 4 power movements, now we're going to have 3 power movements and then 1 squat movement. With, again, the expectation that we're getting the hip extension in, we're getting some good positioning in, and we're able to do it because we don't have to worry about diving underneath the bar. But then once we start to develop some movement pattern awareness, then we start to move underneath the bar and increase the complexity of the complexes, no pun intended. So hopefully there will be some carryover in there. So power movements turn into squat movements. So again, we'll have 4 power movements, then we'll have 3 power movements and 1 squat movement. Then we'll have 2 power movements and 2 squat movements. Then you catch my drift? And then we'll start dropping off movements, and then it'll actually peak at, we're not going to retest our 1 rep max power clean. We're just utilizing this as a tool. It's going to peak at a 1 rep max hang squat clean. So in 8 weeks, we're going to test our 1 rep max hang squat clean, and we're going to it's going to be a cool evolution from power clean into hang squat clean. It's going to be really, really natural, and hopefully it's going to be, Whereas with the snatch, we are testing and retesting the specific movement. Running, so July 23rd is going to be our 5K retest. That it's been cool to see people actually get kind of excited about running now. So that's been cool. So the way that we're going to change it up, so like we said, originally it was going to be 6 weeks, like we spoke about 2 weeks ago, and then it kind of hit a rhythm and said, fuck it, let's run it for 12. So that's what we're doing, but we are going to change up the vibe a little bit. So the vibe thus far has been, volume progression. So we've been increasing the meters every week, and then we're going to peak at, we built up to 6,000 meters. That's going to be the climax of this little microcycle that we're doing that lasted for 6 weeks. We built past the 5K, right? So we built up to 6K, and we had the paces that people were following, that kind of stuff, RPE type stuff that they didn't have a 5K if they didn't do the math. So what we're about to do is we're gonna drop back down to 4,400 meters. So June 3rd, or the week of June 3rd, so that's probably like June 6th or 7th or whatever the math is. We're going to drop back down to 4,400 meters, but the paces are going to be more aggressive. Does that make sense? Yeah. And again, just from a organization perspective, the majority of the next 8 weeks is going to be a 10-minute warm-up. So their warm-up is going to be a 10-minute run. So what we're going to expect people to do, and if they don't have watches, I think a lot of people have watches, but if they don't, they'll run with somebody with a watch. It's kind of like a cool auto-regulation perspective as far as like some meters go. So like if I was in the class, you know, you guys would tell me to go run for 10 minutes. I'm going to run for 5 minutes and then I'm going to turn around.
Yeah.
Simple, right? And it's auto-regulation in the aspect that if Mick, not if, but because Mick is a better runner than I, he's going to get more volume in. He's going to get more meters in. That's called auto-regulation, where you know, sometimes it's tough, you know, balancing you know, exercise exposure to such a wide variety of fitness levels, because like Mick can maybe handle 7,000 meters in a training session where I can only handle 4,000, and then my knees start to hurt and I'm just not there yet, you know what I mean? So this auto-regulation concept, even though it's only 10 minutes, it is going to create a little bit of that auto-regulation. So the way it's going to be structured is 10-minute warm-up, you know, 5-minute run out, 5-minute run back, and then we're gonna have shorter duration runs to start. So like I think that first week is like 5 400s. We're not giving them a pace because we want them to start to try to like run a little bit faster. So they're gonna have 5 400s, which is gonna be the main working sets. And then there's gonna be a cash out of a longer run, anywhere from 800 to a mile at a percentage of their 5K. So now we're playing around with a bunch of different stuff, right? Now we're playing around with the warm-up pace, which generally speaking ends up for most being about a 5K pace. So now we're doing like, we'll call it like 5K pace running to start. Then we're going to be running much faster than our 5K pace, because if you guys think, and I think that first week is probably like, actually I could probably tell you, just so we can have a specific conversation. So the first week is it's 3 minutes rest between 400s with, these are going to be scored. The score is going to be the slowest 400 because it's going to be one of those kind of concepts. The score is going to be the slowest 400, and then they're going to put all the other 400s in the times. But you can see now, just with the wording and how it's written, how they're going to be running a little bit differently. And we're getting a little bit more back into some speed work now. So 5K pace, 10-minute warm up, then they're going to do some speed work and some like pain tolerance work, because that can get kind of nasty. You know, 5 400s at an aggressive pace, 3 minutes rest between. And then like week 1, they're going to cash out 2 to 4 minutes rest, and then 800-meter run at 110% of their 5K pace. So we're doing some cadence work, plus we're doing some speed work, plus we're doing some pain tolerance work, and then we're going to progress from there. And then we're going to build back up to 6,500 meters, but now at a faster pace. And then we're going to retest the 5K.
When you say cash out, is that something that like we run in class, or is that like we tell them about it and like they do it on their own after?
I mean, no, it should be done. It'll be done in class.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the way that it's going to be written, they're going to be able to do it on their own, because the point is not for them to be like insanely in an incredible amount of pain at that point. So the way it's written, right? Run 10-minute warm up, rest 5 minutes. So everybody's on the same clock so far, because we're all together, right?
Yeah.
Run 10-minute warm up, rest 5 minutes from everybody when everybody gets back. Then 5 sets, run 400 meters at a tough but sustainable pace with 3 minutes rest between sets. Okay. Then 2 to 4 minutes rest, run 800 meters at 110% of your 5K pace. So they'll be going out on their 800 probably like a couple minutes spread out. Yeah.
I like the 10-minute thing.
Yeah,
So I feel like that's a good, like whenever we get like new people and they haven't done a 5K, it's like it's a good way for them to like go out and be like, oh, that was too fast.
Yeah. It's us. Oh, I skipped Wednesday. I skipped absolute strength stuff. It's not too crazy, but what?
It's my favorite day.
So as far as Wednesdays, sticking with the same concept, like globally, which has been like heavy, right? Like Wednesdays for the last couple weeks have been heavy. For the next 8 weeks, they're going to be absolute strength endurance based. So if you guys recall, we had a conversation about Wednesdays prior, and I forget exactly how we were doing it, but I'm pretty sure we were alternating between strength, speed, endurance, like power cleans and like power snatches, and absolute strength endurance, which would be like deadlifts and squats, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then we went from the 20-minute AMRAP, and then we ended up going into 12-minute AMRAPs with some rest between. And then like this past Wednesday, remember it was the snatches in the first AMRAP. Okay, well, that's a strength speed movement. and then the thrusters, which is an absolute strength movement, so we're getting a little bit of both in.
Yeah.
What we're going to do moving forward is it's going to be only absolute strength endurance, and we're going to be alternating between front squats and deadlifts. For the most part, the working weight for this is going to be 275, 185 on the deadlifts, and 185, 125 on the front squats. And these are always, for the next 8 weeks, going to be alternated with, or coupled with some type of upper pressing absolute strength movement, which would be like a wall climb, a handstand push-up, a strict handstand push-up, or even we're gonna towards the end of the cycle, we're gonna have a class workout with wall-facing handstand push-ups in it. Obviously, that would be the most advanced option. There's gonna be scaling options, but that'll be the first time that we have wall-facing handstand push-ups in a class workout, which will be fun. So that's kind of what to expect there. And then Thursday is the running day. So then over to Friday now. This gets kind of cool too. So as far as the strength work goes on Friday, we're going to be doing absolute strength work. It's going to be the opposite of whatever the Wednesday was. So if we front squatted heavy on Wednesday, then we're going to be deadlifting heavy on Friday. And then the opposite holds true for deadlifting here. We're going to be front squatting there. It's going to be super, super low volume, super, super high intensity. And it's going to be 10, 8, 6, 4s, 2s, right? Like literally week one. I think week one is a front squat day. It's a front squat day, so people are going to have 10 minutes to build to a 10 rep max with only one true attempt. No back offsets. You've done this. You might have done this before too. I've had a couple people do it. No back offsets. No nothing. We're holding them true to only one max attempt, because I mean, think about it. If I put 275 on the bar and I like scraped by my last rep, what am I going to try, 285? Probably not, right?
Yeah.
So especially early on, like hey, have a number. You're probably going to have more in the tank. That's fine. You know, next week you're going to do 8, and then we're going to build from there, and that's going to hold true with the deadlift and with the front squat. We're going to be kind of playing around back and forth, alternating. Then as far as the conditioning, so this is going to be classified as something new that we're going to classify it as comprehensive sets, which is basically like all-inclusive, right? And when I say all-inclusive, what I mean is, when we talk about what constitutes CrossFit, not like the 10 characteristics or whatever, but monostructural, gymnastics, and weightlifting, right? Those are like really the 3, right?
Yeah.
Everything falls in that. Comprehensive sets, as far as our lingo is going to be concerned, is going to be all 3 of those things combined, right? So there's not going to be it's not going to be like a light day or a heavy day or a gymnastics day or a cardio day. It's going to be all the things. So the way that we're going to play this around, and this is going to be something like, and I'll give an example. That was bound to happen. I'll give an example. I'll give an example of this. So week 1, the week of June 3rd, so whatever that becomes, June 9th, or no, like June 8th or something like that. It's 9 power snatches at 135.95, 18 alternating pistols, and a 24/20 calorie bike rip. Strength speed movement, power snatch. Gymnastics movement, pistol. Monostructural movement, bike rip.
Love it.
So what we're going to do is we're going to flow through these comprehensive sets, and actually we're going to play around with this like in a long-term perspective, because really this comprehensive set thing could be, it could just be forever ongoing. It could the possibilities are endless, the progressions are endless, and in my opinion, the ability to get super fit from doing these types of things is endless also. So the way that we're going to do it for the first little block is going to be with 3 weightlifting movements: power snatches, power cleans, and shoulder to overhead. Those are the three weightlifting movements that we're going to be cycling through the next 8 weeks on Fridays. The gymnastics movements are going to be pistols and bar muscle ups and toes to bar, and then there's going to be a machine in that also. Every single time, every single week, the pairing is going to change, so there's going to be constantly varied, right? So like week 1, we're doing snatching with pistols with biking, but then the next time around, so the next 3-week microcycle, we're going to be doing shoulder to overhead with pistols. and the next time we're going to be doing power cleans with pistols, right? So that's going to be constantly varied in that perspective, but then it's going to also be constantly varied, and this is different for different people in the order, because some people like finishing with a barbell, some people like starting with a barbell, some people are great at gymnastics if it's in the front end of the set, but not if it's in the back end of the set, that kind of thing. So the first 3 weeks, it's going to go in the order of strength, speed, gymnastics, monostructural. Then the next 3 weeks is going to go in the order of monostructural, gymnastics, strength, speed. So you can see how that, just changing the order up, if we were to think like 10 power snatches at 135.95, 18 pistols, 20 calorie bike erg. Okay. 20 calorie bike erg, 18 pistols, 10 power snatches. Oh, that
changes everything.
That changes a little bit. I might approach that a little bit different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's going to be something that we do there on that. But this comprehensive set thing, like this has been a thing. This is obviously a thing, right? Like we do this all the time. I'm a big fan of this. Like 3 or 4 rounds, like that was literally what we did today. 3 or 4 rounds of a barbell, a gymnastic, and a machine with some rest, so you can keep the intensity up. So it's not that we're not inventing, the concept, but we're going to name it and we're going to classify it, and then we're going to start to play around with factors so that we can figure out which way is the best. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's Monday through Friday, and then Saturdays. Saturdays are going to be kind of like a fun day. We're continuing with the same theme. I know there's like a million different ways that you can do partner stuff and holds and rules and this, that, and the other. I'm a big fan of one-to-one back and forth, and I think that the feedback that we've been getting from people on Saturdays, they enjoy that also. So we're going to continue with that. Conceptually, we're gonna do the first couple weeks. It's going to be a machine, a burpee variation for 10 sets, 5 each, into a really, really high volume, low intensity, light barbell reps. So I'll give an example. 10 sets, 5 rounds each, 10/7 calorie row, 8 burpees, just standard burpees. You guys following? 10/7 calorie row, 8 burpees, back and forth, into 50 squat cleans at 95-65 between the 2 partners. Now the next week, we're going to increase, the calories are going to stay the same, but we're going to increase the complexity of the burpee. So it's going to be 10/7 calorie bike erg, 7 burpee box jump overs. So last week was 8 burpees. This week it's 7 burpee box jump overs, and 50 power snatches at 95-65. So like now that contraction got a little bit more aggressive, right? Like squat cleans. All right, 95-65, okay, whatever. Power snatches, that's a little nastier, right? Like sets of 10 on the squat clean at 95 pounds, probably not the end of the world. Sets of 10 at 95-65 will get your heart rate pretty jacked up as far as the power snatch is concerned.
Yeah.
And just to give one more example so that you guys can get an idea about the progression method. The following week, so every 3rd week, we increase the volume of the calories. So the 3rd week is 12/9, so we increase everybody's calories by 2. We're still doing 10 rounds, 5 each, but now we're doing 12 calories and 9 calories for ladies, and we're doing 6 burpee box jumps, not overs, to a high box. So every single week, it's 1 rep less burpee, but the burpee became a little bit more cumbersome of a burpee. With 50 power cleans at 115-75. So you guys can see the rhythm there. And that's more of just us being creative and trying to get people good at burpees and trying to get people good at barbell cycling. That's really sport specific, where like some of this stuff, this is a little bit more energy system conversation. Some of it doesn't have a lot of like physiological backing or anatomical backing. And it's more of like, hey, like this is fun, let's do this and let's progress this in a cool way. And this is stuff that it takes to be good at CrossFit, so let's do this. Doing 10 power snatches at 95 pounds wouldn't really put itself in any type of like specific like categorization perspective from an energy system standpoint, but you can understand the need to be able to do that. You know what I mean?
So what was your question? So how do you want to go about addressing the classes with their if we're building to 1 rep max in 10 minutes, it's probably not going to be a lifetime PR.
Correct.
How do you want to convey that message to them? Or what do you want us to think about when conveying that
message? So you know, so talking about classification, right? We had it pulled up on Instagram the other day, and I forget. So what I was gonna say was we have basically 6 different styles of building to heavies. We have 1 rep maxes. We have that would be called like a time constraint max. Then we have like a set constraint max, where you know, think about these 3 different ways, or let's think about 4 different ways. So way number 1 would be build to a 1 rep max snatch. Got it. Way number 2 would be 10 minutes to build to a 1 rep max snatch. Got it. Way number 3 would be 6 sets to build to a tough snatch. Got it. Way number 4 would be every minute on the minute, odd minutes, 1 snatch, building to heavy, even minutes, row 20 calories as fast as possible. So there's a lot of different like concepts on building to heavy. So as far as how we convey, I mean, we can convey it like that.
Yeah.
Like keep in mind, and I'll tell people that also, like there shouldn't be fails. Now it's a little trickier. It's a little tricky with snatches because like we can have a bad snatch day. You know what I mean? Like if I tell you, if I tell Kate to, not that she's had any bad training days recently, but if I tell Kate that, build to a tough snatch but not a 1 rep max, she might fuck around and miss 80% of her all time. There was no way she saw that coming. So now we're missing, but because she's just like, it's such a high demand movement, where with a back squat you got a little bit better of an understanding about like, I'm probably not gonna fail 80% of my 1 rep max. You know what I mean? So we can convey that message of like, hey, leave a couple pounds in the tank. Now, with all that being said, if you think about somebody that's like, fresh out of on-ramp and only has done 100 snatches in their entire life, they're gonna be able to snatch, like anytime that they snatch for the next 6 weeks, they're gonna PR. Yeah. So that has to be expected, where, somebody like me who's been doing this for 12 years, I'm probably not gonna PR. I also have a good understanding about what heavy feels like for the day, where then another person that has been doing this for 3 years, maybe they won't PR, but they might not yet have the understanding about what heavy feels like for the day. Like just to keep picking on Trey, like there's no way, like Trey doesn't understand what heavy feels like. He just goes until he fails.
Right.
You know what I mean? But as they spend more time in it, like true heavies, they're able to see that. Yeah. So I think they can be portrayed as, hey, leave a couple pounds in the tank. And we can even go into conversation about like, you might have an off day. I'm not going to say that there are no misses allowed. Like over here with this deadlifting and these front squatting or back squatting, we can make a statement like no misses allowed. I do not want to see you fail a squat. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's hard. That's a hard conversation to have on snatching. Because of the skill factor. So a lot of times what I'll tell people is like 2 misses. So when we're snatching, when we're doing like skill work, you're allowed to have 2 misses, and if you have more than 2, shut it down, where that would be no misses on an absolute strength exercise. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Anything else? So what day? You running? You said running?
I was gonna say maybe Friday.
Friday?
Not the top part, but
I actually was gonna say running.
What's the question?
What are you looking forward to the most?
Like, I'm excited to retest my 5K.
Yeah.
Fridays and Mondays.
Pause snatch below the knee.
Yeah, the snatch stuff. That's gonna be cool.
That is gonna be cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Is Monday's gonna be as like disgusting as like it's been? Or is it gonna be like?
No, it's gonna be bad. It's not gonna be like it's not gonna be like the thruster day was, because even the thruster days into Monday. Even the thruster burpee handstand push-up stuff was 10 times harder than the toe to bar wall ball ski burpee stuff. Mm-hmm. So no, we won't see that again.
But it's gonna be same style, like sets.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, for right now, the only day that's not going to be sets is going to be Wednesday. because this is going to be similar sets to what we've been doing.
Yeah.
You know, like that. This is obviously sets because it's 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off. This is going to be sets, and then the goal of this also will be like this time through we're going to do 3 sets, with the goal being that next time through the following 8 weeks we can do 4 sets, and it won't take everybody forever because we've been exposed to this concept, and then 5 sets, and then you know, some, you know, people that have more time could then do 6 sets, 7 sets, and now you're talking about like that's, I mean, fitness.
So is Wednesday gonna be like 20-minute AMRAP style again?
It changes. It's AMRAPs. It's not 20-minute AMRAPs. It's shorter than that.
Okay.
It's AMRAPs. It's for time stuff. Yeah. It changes it up. Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
What was your favorite? What one you looking forward to?
I don't know. I'm excited about the whole thing.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm excited to see everybody do the snatch stuff. I'm not excited for that for myself because I just don't snatch well right now. I mean snatching, the chest to bar stuff, and this one is exciting to me. This is what I'm personally most excited about, because this is the most fun for me. I forgot who I was talking to, but like it might have been you. Where it was like I love workouts where like if you didn't want to do anything else, you don't have to. Because like you lifted a heavy bar, you did a decent amount of gymnastics, and you got your heart rate up. That is money. That's money, which is what this past Wednesday was.
Right,
like snatch, bar, muscle up, run, rest till almost complete recovery. You know, thruster, rope climb, bike. Like that's beautiful right there. And that's going to be what this is like. Not quite as daunting as the Wednesdays have been, but similar concept.
And if you have the skill for it, it's even better.
Yeah.
I like that pistols are in there too.
Yeah.
Is that because of the like alternating between like double leg strength and hinging, or is that just
not really? Just to change it up, and we're doing a lot of. I didn't want to overdo it with the overhead stuff, no pun intended, because literally every Monday we're doing 60 to 80 chest to bar. Yeah. So I didn't want to do too much on Friday and then have a fucked up turnaround for Monday. So so some of the higher volume days are the days that are the higher volume days on the next week. So if there's a higher volume chest to bar day that I'm a little worried about, that was like the pistol Friday, like that Friday before is a pistol day, just so it's not like we're not hanging all the time.
Joe Townend today said.
Say again.
Joe Townend today said we were talking about whether he should do strict handstand push-ups or kipping, and he was like, I really don't work on stricts because we've done strict handstand push-ups once or twice since I've been here. Same with pistols. And
yeah.
We have wall facing.
Oh, that's funny.
And
yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Party time, Joe. Yeah. Sorry, Joe.
For you, Joe.